8 inches of building has disappeared from bottom up at the most limited angle. Now, this effect is succinctly summarised with one word: perspective. And this effect of things disappearing from the bottom up at the most limited angle as they diffract, that would be resolution interference, the point that you can't resolve it anymore. At that point, the globe-believing fundies have got mathematics which call that effect an absolutely real effect you can observe with anything ever, every time you open your eyes or take a picture of anything, because everything's travelling through an aperture with a diffraction limit. They have called this effect Earth curve.
Well, I can describe something to you. Begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. It's marked with an X, labeled horizon based on the R value, debunked by the Black Swan. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you tuned in live, joined as a member, smashed the super chat, commented, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanlockley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Did anybody watch Conspiracy Catz's video?
Nope.
Literally nobody. Me neither. Okay, moving on. I got a load of comments all at once, so I searched my own name in YouTube and saw Conspiracy Cat's thumbnail and could glean from what the people in the comments were saying to me what needed to be addressed. So I just made a quick 2-minute response video, literally without even watching his video. No need. So he didn't even get a view out of me.
That was on the Rayleigh criteria, right?
Diffraction limit. I said things diffract
Yeah.
into the distance. And he's questioned that, from what I can glean, because people are asking me, what did you mean when you said things diffract into the distance? This picture on screen was taken with a camera. Now, the aperture will dictate at what point things disappear. That would be diffract. That's interference. And where is that interference? It's here. We call this point the horizon. It is the most limited angle that you can resolve information through the aperture of the camera. That would be called the diffraction limit, calculable in the Rayleigh criterion. So when I say things diffract into the distance, that is 100% accurate description of the diffraction limit. The diffraction limit being this point of convergence, where things get too small to see. Now, based on the angle being the most limited across the deck, the things at the bottom of any item in this distance will disappear first. For example, if I was to take a brick, which was in the near foreground, an 8-inch brick, and put it out at 1 mile, let's just say this horizon for the sake of argument is 1 mile into the distance, we will assume at the distance of 1 mile we can see one brick. Now we're going to push the same brick, that 8-inch brick, out to 5 miles. Now, at 5 miles, it is beyond the angular resolution limit of the camera, the diffraction limit. So, the 8-inch brick at 5 miles in the distance has disappeared completely. You can no longer see it. The angle is too limited. It has disappeared. Now, let's take the same exact example at 5 miles. The brick's out at the distance at the diffraction limit on the horizon, disappeared from view. And we're going to build a 100-foot skyscraper on top of the brick. What do you know? We've got a wider angle to the top of the bricks with the building, but the 8-inch brick at the bottom still vanished because the angle to it is still too limited and it's still beyond the diffraction point. Now, the stuff built on top of it can be seen, ergo 8 inches of building has disappeared from bottom up at the most limited angle. Now, this effect is succinctly summarised with one word: perspective. And this effect of things disappearing from the bottom up at the most limited angle as they diffract, that would be resolution interference, the point that you can't resolve it anymore. At that point, the globe-believing fundies have got mathematics which call that effect an absolutely real effect you can observe with anything ever, every time you open your eyes or take a picture of anything, because everything's travelling through an aperture with a diffraction limit. They have called this effect Earth curve. Now, what they've done to hijack this effect is take this beautiful view and removed all aspects of detail from it by putting it in side profile. So you'll have a little man on the left, and if the sun was the target, you'd have the sun on the right, and you'd have one line between the two things, and the sun would be given a feet and inches value, and it would never change with distance. So in my example with an 8-inch brick in the distance, 5 miles, completely disappeared from view, too small to see, according to that mathematics, you've got your man on the left, you've got your 8-inch brick on the right, and you've got a straight line between them. And it doesn't matter if I write 1,000,000 miles on the line, because the 8-inch brick hasn't changed from being an 8-inch brick, even if I write 1,000,000 miles on the line, effectively removing all aspects of the diffraction limit, i.e. perspective, from Earth curve mathematics. No longer do you need to concern yourself that the 8-inch brick cannot be seen at 1,000,000 miles, because in your diagram side on, with the side of your own head in view, you can see the brick, 8 inches of it, at any distance, removing perspective.
What they're saying, I mean, that's ridiculous to assume that.
Oh, it's ridiculous to assume that an 8-inch brick is 8 inches at 1,000,000 miles.
Yeah.
Technically and strictly true, but in reality, we've got diffraction limits based on the aperture of whatever you're looking through. The bigger the aperture, the lower the diffraction limit, ergo the longer you have angular resolution to things in the distance. Wider angle, bigger aperture, those are the things that affect where things disappear. Lower to the deck, limited angle, things disappear quicker. Higher, above the deck, things will be capable of vision because you've got a wider angle to them. This is perspective. And they've called it Earth curve and removed all aspects by putting your side on. That's how they've hijacked what you see. Big, massive shout out to Life is Short, one of my Patreons. Because if it wasn't for him, I couldn't have given that little speech. That's down to him and him alone. Big shout out to Life is Short. Subscribe today. Check out his presentations.
Well, I can ascribe something to you. The begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. It's marked with an X, labeled horizon based on the R value, debunked by the Black Swan. Welcome to Flat Earth.
The horizon's not a physical Earth curve edge obstruction, in spite of that side-on view depicting the horizon as being the tangent point in that mathematics. And the horizon isn't a physical geometric sphere edge. It's a non-tangible, non-physical point in the distance that changes with weather and your angle of view to things that are diffracted based on your aperture of your eye or camera or whatever you're taking a picture with.
That it seems kind of flat, but if they don't have the proper knowledgeable background, they might easily be convinced that they just have to apply circumdicular geometry, and they'd still believe it is a ball, even though everything looks flat all the time, you know? So,
But they can't deny perspective.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Globers are coming in here saying that perspective is something Flat Earth was made up.
Yeah, fleur
No, the
perspective.
Globers.
They used to tell us, fleur perspective, ha ha ha, like it was made up by us.
Yep. I remember that.
Yeah, Globers can deny perspective, but artists can't because it's in every painting.
Remember, somebody made a whole list of things about perspective of what we say.
Yeah, Tim Osman presented it. I can't remember who made the list initially, but Tim Osman basically had a list. In one column, you've got Earth curve. In the other column, you've got weather, refractive effects, diffraction limits, swells, things like that. All the lists of things that can cause stuff in the distance to disappear at a given point. Now, all of those things are just written off as not Earth curve, because the only thing in their column, literally the only thing in their column to claim that things disappear in the distance is Earth curve. That's the only reason things disappear as they get further away from you. And in their maths, as I say, a 10-foot wall is a 10-foot wall, even if it's 1,000,000 miles away. It's never getting smaller. It's always 10 foot. That's how their maths works. It just excludes perspective. So they think on a flat Earth, we should see forever, because their maths says the Eiffel Tower, its given height, is just that over there at that height, and you should see it. And unless Earth curve gets in the way, you would see it. It's like, no, it's miles too small.
Until the Black Swan came, right, Nathan? Now, in their orthographic view, It's not disappearing.
Well, in their orthographic view, they've got a marked with an X labelled horizon Earth curve edge that's geometrically obscuring things in the distance. But then when we ask them, in this picture with a horizon, where's the geometric sphere edge? We're told, you can't see the geometric horizon. You wouldn't expect to see geometry. That's what we're told. Bye-bye, Earth curve geometry then. When you say you can't see a geometric sphere edge horizon to get a tangent point, you can't derive R. And the thing you're denying being capable of seeing is Earth curve. When they say you can't see the geometric horizon, that's Earth curve. They're telling you can't see.
Well, then bye-bye orthographic view.
That was a joke already. We exposed that like 3 years ago.
Muppet vision.
Muppet vision. That's correct. Muppet vision because you can see the side of your own head.
Yeah, but when it comes to the black swan, they're going to say refraction instead of realizing their orthographic view doesn't match reality.
These two things are obviously intrinsically linked, but they're not part of the same argument. So the fact that the begging the question part of the argument with the R value is addressed with the black swan, when they beg the question with R, we've debunked their use of R. They can't get it anymore. Well, that debunks the begging the question aspect. Proof of nothing speaks for itself. Perspective hijacking, the next aspect to the detailed description I give that calculator, is this aspect. The perspective hijacking is putting it in orthographic view, removing the fact that things get smaller with distance, that's angular size, or apparent size, as it's also known, versus actual size. A 10-foot wall, you on the left-hand side of the image, I'll just depict it for the audience on this. So you, a little stick man here, 10-foot wall here, line between the two. I'm going to write 1 billion miles on the two. Well, does that mean that you can't have a line between the two? Well, when you then curve that line, you'd say that the billion miles isn't the cause of the thing not being capable of being seen. It's the Earth curve obstruction that's got in the way. Because they've taken the effect of perspective, things getting too small to see in the distance, as they reach the diffraction limit, and called that Earth curve.
Until the black swan.
Until the black swan. 2020, 1st Jan.
So if they want to keep that disconnected, then they have to convolute it wherever it touches, basically.
His motivation, in my opinion, is to actually come on the show and have a lucky day where he thinks he can actually win an argument against the flat earth debate questions.
No, several people on the panel did welcome him to Flat Earth with